Today's topic is selling vendor advertising. You can't sell a secret. If you're going to get the premium price for a property, then you must expose it to as many people as possible so that you'll get the person who's willing to pay a premium for that particular property. The person who falls in love with it. The person that's willing to pay over the odds so that they can live in that particular place. So to do this, you must spread the net as wide as possible within the constraints that you're presented with. Now, you'll come across different ways of selling vendor advertising, but one of the most effective ways is to create the menu of advertising components from which your vendors can choose under your guidance. Now, there are going to be a number of components that every property goes through. You probably always put a sign out the front. You probably always need, or you do always need, good professional photography to show the property off in its best light. There are going to be things like window displays and putting properties up on the internet in their basic format that are probably all part of this non-negotiable must-have advertising. Also presenting it to your database is another one of them. After that, there are going to be some areas where the vendor has some discretion about where they advertise their property. They might want to place ads in a paper, and then the question arises of how frequently, what size ads, what are they going to promote, and are there more than one newspaper or position in which they should be placed. So you need to structure an advertising menu for your vendors so that it makes it clear and easy for them to go through this process of deciding on the marketing that they're going to use. It's easiest to start with the non-negotiable and included items that aren't going to cost them anything, and then have the discussion about the ones that are more costly and that they've got more discretion over. Either way, you're working in a logical sequence from the baseline upwards. Depending on the property, there might be some specific areas that you're going to find valuable to advertise that property in. Now, there are a few conversation techniques that come up around this. You're going to find vendors that just say, "I'll put it quietly on the market, just put it out there on the internet at no fee, or send it to your database." Again, they're trying to reduce the cost to them of spending money on advertising up front. In essence, what they're trying to do is maybe a little bit short-sighted. Remember, our overall objective is to get the most money in their bank at the end of the transaction. So if you have to invest 50 cents to earn $1, then it's still a good investment of 50 cents. If that means that you need to spend some money on upsizing the advertising and putting it into local papers, as well as the free types of advertising like database and internet, then that's your job to persuade those owners that the payback is there for doing that investment. And it's not a matter of just persuading them to spend more money, it's a matter of persuading them or showing them that the payback is there. This is what your scripting should be based around, and this is what the gathering of your evidence should be around when you talk to other agents in your office about how to present the marketing to clients. I often see topics such as increasing vendor paid advertising, and there's always the discussion about, is the advertising there to improve the brand of the agency or to really sell the property? So you need to get clear on this. Our job is to sell properties for the most amount of money that we can secure at the end of the transaction. And generally this does mean that to secure more buyers, more competition, and find the one that's happy to pay the most amount of money, you do have to spread the net as widely as possible. Now, often this advertising has to be paid for by the vendor up front before he receives the settlement proceeds of his home. And you need to be able to talk clearly and openly with the vendor about this as well. And there's some structures that you can use to make this easier. For instance, if there is a number of a dollar value for the total advertising bill, you need to secure that from the vendor in order to pay the advertising that comes into the agency. But you may be able to work with your vendor so that you charge his credit card half of the fee in one billing cycle and half of it in the next billing cycle. This way it eases the burden of a hefty fee hitting his credit card all in one hit, and essentially you're just waiting a few days in between around that billing cut-off date between when the agency gets the first and second half of the instalment of the advertising fee. So look through the material now, structure your advertising and review what happens in your office in terms of general advertising. Create the menu if you don't have access to one in your office already, and then practice with your role play partner how you present the advertising to vendors so that you get the right level of advertising to secure the best value for their property.